And the theory is that if we create what we call interactives, which are things like charts and maps, it can better engage readers and persuade them to pay for our online product. So I personally love using data in my reporting, and I honestly get excited when someone sends me data because I know that if I look closely enough at it, I can find some sort of story in there. And luckily for me, the real estate beat is great for data. Every month, the San Antonio Board of Realtors, SABOR, sends me monthly home sales and price data, and we like to put together maps and charts showing trends, showing how home prices are changing and home sales are changing in different parts of the city, comparing San Antonio to other metro areas. So if you work with the press, you probably know that sometimes the story that the press wants to write is different from the story that you want them to write. So I'd like to talk with you about what makes us decide that a story is newsworthy. One thing is change. People are interested in reading about how their community is changing. So for example, if some real estate trend is going in a different direction, if maybe home sales are declining after rising for a long time, that's worth a story. Another thing is novelty. Maybe the local market has hit a benchmark for the first time. For example, a year or two back, our median home price went over $200,000 for the first time. That's worth a story. Maybe there's this big mansion that everyone knows about, everyone sees, and has been on the market for 10 years and it finally sold. That's worth a story. Another thing is controversy. Maybe the community is embroiled in some sort of debate or discussion. People are talking about stuff on social media. We like to write about stuff like that. So a lot of my time is taken up writing about dailies, writing dailies or stories on Daily Deadline, but I also try to devote some time to writing feature stories, which we also refer to as enterprise stories. And MLS data is great for stories like that. I write a lot about how different parts of San Antonio are growing and changing, and whenever I wrote a story like that, SABOR always comes in and provides me with home sales and price data, which can help demonstrate how the city is evolving. For example, I've written stories about how San Antonio's far west side is booming, and data like that is really useful with a story like that. So I wanted to offer some tips on how to interact with reporters. One thing that you probably already know about reporters is we tend to be pretty busy. So when people send me data, it really helps if they give me a heads up. Maybe a day or two early, they tell me, Richard, we're going to be releasing our monthly sales data on Wednesday, just so you're prepared. Otherwise, if you send me that data at 11 a.m., there's a really good chance that I am already going to be busy working on another story on deadline, and I'm not going to be able to devote much time to your story. So if you'd like a better, more comprehensive story, it's good to give us a heads up. Even better is to put the information under embargo, which, if you're not familiar with that term, basically you provide me with the data with the press release, and you say, you can write your story now, but you can't publish it until a certain time. That way we can really spend a lot of time putting together a really good story. So one question I sometimes get from sources is, how much data do you want me to give you? And my answer is always, the more the better. Give me as much as you can. Because you never know if that data is going to come in handy, and it's always better to have too much data than to have too little data. They say, how far back do you want the real estate data? I say, as far back as you have it, even into the 70s or the 80s. You never know if you can look at some long-term trend, and the data might come in handy later. In terms of how I like to receive the data, sometimes I have sources send it to me in a Microsoft Word or a PDF file, which is always a little frustrating, so I prefer just a good old CSV file, an Excel spreadsheet. In terms of the data that I use, like I said, I work with SABOR a lot. The Texas A&M University Real Estate Center is great for providing historical real estate data for San Antonio. In terms of home starts, construction, there's Metro Study. There are lots of organizations that put out good data on the office market. One of them is REOC San Antonio, which I work with them a lot. And same thing with the multifamily market. And one funny thing with the multifamily is I get emails regularly from apartment listing websites trying to get me to use their data. Some of them are better than others, according to what I've read. I know Zillow is known for having a good algorithm for finding an accurate median. Other websites just use whatever data from whatever apartments are listed on their website, which obviously might not be a representative sample of all the apartments in the city. So in terms of what I'm looking for from a source, the number one most important thing to me is the data reliable? We say that the foundation of journalism is truth, so I want data that's really solid and reliable. Second is, can I get the source on the phone when I need them? Do they respond to my emails? I like to text sources, which is a good way to stay in touch with people when everyone's all busy. So sometimes I'll be working on a story and it's 5:30 p.m. and I'm pushing deadline, and suddenly I'll say, I want to check to make sure I have this right. And it can be really helpful if the source is reachable at that point. Another important thing for me when dealing with a source is, can they give me their objective opinion on what they see in the data? I like all journalists, I like to have a really good quote in my story. So can I count on the source giving me their unbiased opinion on some trends that they see in the data? So that's all my presentation. You can feel free to reach out to me. My email and my phone number are on my Twitter page at rwebner. And now I'd like to introduce Mike Barnett.
Thank you so much. A true professional that can come up here in his slide deck, not show up when it's supposed to, and thank you for that. For those of you in the audience, Richard did have a slide deck, and those will be posted on the CMLS website for you there. So thank you again for being here. So that leads into what the Texas Association of Realtors, in partnership with our realtor associations across the state and the MLSs that serve those associations across the state. We have about 80 local associations in Texas, and about, at the time this project started, about 55 or so MLSs that we serve. And Richard did a great job of kind of setting us up with what this project is really all about. And that is, like I said, that realtors have the access to the best and most comprehensive listing data of any source out there, obviously. And so what could we do to make sure that the media and others recognize that that realtors are the source of this information, and to acknowledge that in the media? And so our goal obviously was, any time that the media talks about market statistics and market analytics, that the word realtor is associated with it. And so really that's what this is all about, is that it's a PR project. It's not necessarily a data and analytics project. There's a lot of that behind it, but it's really about a PR project. So our task was, and I can't see what slide is, yeah, okay. Our charge about 5 years ago was, okay, we've got 55 MLSs in the state. Go out there and make them all see the vision that we have, and get on the same page and agree to share their data to produce a product that we can almost guarantee is going to contradict with the analytics that you're putting out as MLSs, and that they're communicating and working with on a local basis. But at the end of the day, the vision was communicated, and we have a great partnership among every MLS in the state. And so we've had the opportunity to aggregate all of that data through a team of wonderful partners. Obviously, the most important partner in this whole thing are those 50 plus MLSs across the state and the associations that they serve. Once we had all of this data, what do you do with it, and how do you make it work to ensure that it's clean, that you go through the processes of this was pre the working version of REZO now. So we were talking about, if there were 55 MLSs, there were 55 sets of standards and fields and such. So CoreLogic has done a great job with us to be able to standardize and normalize the data, getting it in from the MLSs via REDS feed. It's warehoused in another partner, SGS, there that you see. But really a key component to this is in the state of Texas, we have what's called the Real Estate Center. And every licensee, real estate licensee in the state of Texas, part of their licensing fees go to fund what's called the Real Estate Center. And it's a team of economists and data scientists that really their chore and their charge is to to really report from an economic and data standpoint what's going on in the real estate markets across the state. And so they really do the number crunching behind this thing and really do a great job of doing deduplications and all the data hygiene and cleansing and auditing that has to go in to make sure that at the end of the day, we are releasing a product that we consider to be the most comprehensive, the most accurate data market analytics out there. And so we started about 3 years ago releasing reports to our local associations so that ultimately they could be the ones that could take the good data, the comprehensive data that regardless of what MLS it comes from, it all goes into one report that reports on a geographic area. And so 3 years ago we started releasing these reports, and you can see an example of what the reports initially look like, and we got pretty instant feedback that, hey, if the point of this project is a PR project and you want us to turn this around, you're dumping data at us. We've got data, you're just dumping more data on us for us to turn around and have another job on top of our already busy and hectic jobs. So, and we recognize that, and we still release these analytical reports, but what we did pretty instantly was create what we call the infographic generator on the Texas Association of Realtors website. And the AEs can go in and select from these various drop downs what market they want, what type of analytics that they want, hit enter, and it pops up these really good looking infographics for them. And the idea, again, being turnkey, media ready, no work on the part of virtually no work on the part of the association staff to be able to turn something around, post these on Facebook, send them out to the media, out to the members, that sort of thing, in an attractive, consumable, most importantly, a consumable methodology there. And so on the website, they can just pick their market and shoot out these infographics in a relatively short amount of time. Moving on from there, those are quick little snapshots of what's happening in those individual markets, and we cover, and I'll get this in a second, but we cover over 6,500 markets, geographies across the state. And those are all snapshots in time. So what we said is, well, that's great, but we know that Richard and folks in the media really want to know what the trends are and what's really happening in the real estate market as a whole in these markets across the state. So what we did at the end of 2016 and released in February of 2017 is what we call the Year in Review Report, and we took all the analytics from the Data Relevance Project and included those, and we release on the statewide and the MSA wide. We've got 25 MSAs in the state of Texas, and put it together with other data sources. So we've got data on new construction and building permits. We've got data on apartment rents and vacancies. We've got census data. We've got price distribution data. A lot of stuff that isn't included in these infographic quick snapshots that really gives a more holistic picture of what's happening in these markets across the state. And it's been a absolutely tremendous effort, tremendous response to it. In fact, you see on the slide here that compared to the Q4 release that we did the previous year, we had a 57% increase in media placements, 136% increase in total impressions, and a 79% in advertising equivalency. And as the COO, that means I do the budget. 79% increase in advertising equivalency is huge in my world and your world as well. There's been absolutely fantastic adoption by our local associations. I produced this slide last week and saw that this year alone there had been 3,097 infographics downloaded by local associations. I looked at it this morning, we're over 3,600 already in 5 more days. So we're really pleased with the adoption, the market adoption, and how it's being used. We see it on social media, on the 7th day of the month when we release these things. My whole social media feed is local associations putting those infographics up there. And if you don't think that feeds the ego a little bit, it's been a wonderful thing. I do a lot of liking. There are, like I said, there are over 6,500 geographies that we report on. Anywhere from, some local associations have 22 geographies within their jurisdiction, and we've got our Houston friends over here with over 1,300 geographies. That's a lot of, that's a distribution issue. When we're distributing it in kind of a self-serve to the local associations, and they have the ability, they have the duty really to communicate that information out to their members, it becomes quite a chore. And that's, obviously in our evolution of the project, our job is to make this as easy as possible for the local associations to be able to turn these things around, get the information to their members, get it to the media, and ultimately all the consumers of the information. And so that's our challenge really. And I'll take our friends in Arlington up in the Metroplex as an example. They post 13 of on their website, post 13 of their available 432 geographies. This is a challenge for us to be able to help with the efficiency of the distribution of these products as well. And so that's a challenge that we have and are looking forward to tackling that. Perhaps through, we're looking right now a better self-service, more efficient portal through which the local associations and ultimately perhaps the members of the associations can access these resources of the project. But at the end of the day, like I said, this is really about PR. It's not as an attempt to compete with all the great tools and models that are out there through the analytics that you're all releasing, through RPR, through other types of great products that are out there. This is a way, our task is to be able to, in the easiest and most efficient manner, be able to get good analytics products out there to members. And so I want to bring up a partner that we have in the process that works for CoreLogic, Ethan Bailey. He's going to kind of talk about some of the nuts and bolts of it, but I'll be around for a while if anybody has any questions or wants to talk more about the project. Thank you for your time. Ethan? Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So I think you've actually already seen my presentation at hyperspeed at the top of this segment, so any questions? All right, I'm Ethan Bailey. I'm Senior Director of Software Engineering for CoreLogic, the Real Estate Solutions Group of CoreLogic. My team provides software engineering, project management, and QA for our MLS applications, our broker applications, our property information systems, so things like Matrix, Realist, Agent Achieve, Trestle, and so on. But I'm here today to represent CoreLogic's enterprise data capabilities of our enterprise data group. This is a different business unit within CoreLogic that has a team of data scientists and big data analysts who handle massive amounts of data and create solutions from these data. They find hidden connections within all these disparate data sets and deliver insights and analytics for our customers. And this team is responsible for our enterprise data strategy, data acquisition and distribution, and data governance. So let's talk about our enterprise data group's role in providing the data services that underpin TAR's data relevance project in collaboration with the Real Estate Center at Texas A&M University. So they endeavored to create, and they have created, these market conditions reports, which you just saw, beautiful condition reports, trend reports, which they deliver regularly. They also do these impact studies ad hoc, right? If there's a significant event like the unfortunate weather events that we've had recently, they will use these data to analyze and create ad hoc impact studies as well. And they deliver these reports to, these relevant reports to practitioners at the local, regional, and state level in Texas. So as you can imagine, trying to aggregate data, trying to standardize data so that TAR can create these reports from 51 different MLSs is quite a task. So you've got 51 MLSs participating, contributing data. They have different schemas, right? Local custom fields. They have different software vendors like CoreLogic and others. And they have overlapping markets. So all of these issues culminate in problems that have to be solved if you're going to produce relevant and accurate statistical reports. So to do this requires standardization of the data, aggregation of the data, obviously requires high quality data, and the data must be enhanced to produce some of the reports that TAR wishes to distribute to their membership. So how did TAR solve this problem? They partnered with us. They partnered with CoreLogic. We're a leader in data and analytics, as you all probably know. And I've got on the screen our vision and mission, and I really only want to focus on our mission because I think it aligns perfectly with the Data Relevance Project. CoreLogic's mission is to empower our clients to make smarter decisions through data-driven insights. And that's exactly what the Data Relevance Project is all about. They endeavor to provide insights and analytics to TAR members. So it's a great fit, perfect alignment, and a great partnership from my perspective. CoreLogic has a unique ability to support this project to provide curated, standardized, and aggregated data. So I want to talk just very briefly about the curation process in general, because CoreLogic processes a tremendous amount of varied data from multiple different sources. So we have to identify and acquire this data, that's the curation step, from multiple sources. It could be county assessor data, it could be appraiser data, tax data, flood hazard data, listings, weather events such as hail events, and so on. And this data has to be transformed. It has to be cleansed, standardized, and aggregated so that it can be analyzed more easily, such that analytics and insights can be created and data can be used to help power solutions in the real estate ecosystem. So there are various stakeholders and use cases for this data. It could be underwriting, could be risk management, real estate, as in the case of the Data Relevance Project here that we're talking about today, and much, much more. So this slide basically shows the data pipeline or a conceptual data flow for the data that we're bringing in from these 51 MLSs for use in the Data Relevance Project. And you'll see across the top a row of blocks which indicate the RET servers for the individual MLSs. So we poll those RET servers every half hour or so, pulling in the changes that have occurred. And then we run it through a multi-step transformation process that includes quality control, making sure that there are sanity checks on the data, data sufficiency checks, obvious errors, those kinds of things. And then we run it through a dedupe process, or a process of removing duplicate data. As you can imagine, because of the overlapping markets, if you want to produce statistics in these markets, they have to be highly accurate. You have to have unique records to be able to do that. Otherwise, you might misrepresent the volume data, the unit data, and so on. So then we enhance this data. We run it through a process of address standardization. We geocode the data, that is to say, add the latitude and longitude to it so that TAR can create thematic maps or data visualizations on a map using the geospatial data that we seed into it. And then we aggregate this data set from 51 down to 1, highly efficient, stored in a modern data warehouse. The next step is to distribute the data back to TAR so that they can create their analytics. We send them a nightly change file, and we also send them at the end of the month a monthly refresh, a full refresh file, which they can use to reconcile. And if there are any discrepancies of any sort, we work together to resolve those. But there's also another validation step. If it should occur that there's a statistically significant change or a delta between a previous month and this month for volume, units, and so on, we reconcile that with TAR to make sure that the data that we're providing accurately reflects the market. So this is a proven, well-worn process for CoreLogic. This single source of data is highly efficient for them. It's a highly accurate solution for TAR and the Real Estate Center. And by the way, this is the same process that we use for lots of our different data sets, at least in concept. For Trestle, for instance, this is the same sort of process. Obviously, there are different permissions there, different data currency requirements, and different data delivery methods like RETs and the Web API. So to close out, I want to leave you with a few statistics specifically relevant to the TAR Data Relevance Project. So CoreLogic has national experience dealing with very large data sets, international experience too. Texas is a huge data set as well. And the requirements of this project required that we deliver deep listing data, a long time series of data, over 8 years of data, which represents more than 9.5 million records so that they can create accurate trends. The breadth of coverage that we have is we have contributed data from almost 99% of the state's counties, and we have a rich depth of detail, over 700 attributes in this rich data set that we provide back to TAR. The attributes are the fields of data that we're providing back. And there's a high change velocity. So what does that mean? That means that we're processing a great deal of change. As you can imagine, added listings, changes every day. We process that to the tune of about 5.5 million changes per year. So that's a tremendous amount of change. Hopefully this gives you a quick sense of the capabilities, CoreLogic's capabilities to ingest, shape, and deliver large data sets in support of wonderful projects such as these. We can provide powerful analytics and insights, or we can help our partners create their own through the high-quality data assets that we provide, as in this case. It's an honor to partner with TAR on their data relevance project and to help support real estate practitioners in Texas. And that's my presentation.